Welcome to Shape Your Life, the show that teaches you everything you need to know about health-related matters. I'm your host, Ronald Abviji. According to Dr. Nikki, 161 children are severely burnt every month in South Africa due to accidents in the home. 6 of these children die due to an inadequate burn care system. Healing after a fire can be traumatic, and you need all the support you may get from family and medical experts. On today's show, we are talking about surviving burns and trauma. Moving along, let's check what else is coming up. Dr. Rachel Moore gives us tips on what to do when dealing with burns. Franklin opens up about surviving a fire incident. We have prepared another interesting and informative show, as we always do. It's now time to get educated in our health news segment.
In your health news this week, a study found that people who are genetically prone to obesity are more likely to become overweight if they don't stick to normal sleeping patterns. According to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa, our country has the highest overweight and obesity rate in sub-Saharan Africa, with up to 70% of women and a third of men being classified as overweight or obese. They've recently found new evidence that links poor sleep and excess weight. Researchers from the University of Glasgow found that sleeping less than 7 hours a night or more than 9 hours boosts the risk of obesity among those who are especially prone to it because of their genes. Researchers found that a number of yoga sessions per week helped ease depression cases where medication had failed. The calming poses and meditation of yoga may just be what the doctor ordered when it comes to beating depression. According to the researchers, major depression is common and often persistent and disabling. Up to 40% of people taking medication for depression won't see their depression go away. However, prior studies have shown that the ancient practice of yoga may be of help. The study was published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. A cure for blindness could be on the horizon after pioneering British treatment produced astonishing results. 5 men have been prevented from going blind after having gene therapy, and some can see better than before. One can see the stars in the night again, while another can read numbers on his mobile phone. Those treated so far have a rare condition called Keratoderma mera, but the technique developed with the NHS funding is being adapted to treat other conditions, including age-related macular degeneration, which is the most common form of blindness in the elderly. The treatment involves injecting billions of copies of the gene into the eye.
Being a burn survivor has to be the most challenging and painful experience, but family support and friends helps you pull through and realize that your life is still the same.
On the 13th of January 2006, Franklin, like any other energetic 13-year-old, woke up to prepare for school. Little did he know that his life was about to change.
It was in the morning. I wanted to put water to go to school, but as I went to the gel that was sitting in the corner, I opened it and it exploded immediately, and it poured me on my body and on the side of the face, and it started making fire. My mother quickly woke up, and when she heard me crying, and she put the fire out. And because I was wearing kind of a silk pyjama, so it did hold on my skin, some of it.
He spent 8 months at the burns unit at the Chris Baragwanath Hospital, which resulted in him spending 3 months at intensive care unit.
After they washed me off, I got knocked out, and I was in ICU for 3 months. And after 3 months, I woke up. Then it was tough because I couldn't walk anymore, and I couldn't do a lot of stuff, and I was in bandages, so I had to begin from fresh, physio, start by crawling so that my legs can get tougher and start walking slowly, took baby steps. Then I was allowed to visit home now and then, but not for long, maybe 3 days on a weekend, then come back. But most of that year, it was 2007, most of the whole year I spent it in hospital the whole year.
Franklin has undergone a series of surgeries, including skin graft on his chest.
I did a lot of surgeries. I mean, imagine the whole year. in hospital, so I had to do skin graft here, skin graft here. Some took, some did not, some fell off. Especially the face one, that was the hard one because of when the face is delicate, so they never knew where to take the right skin to put it on my face, so that was the problem. After they took some skin from my palm, they put it on my face, it made a huge keloids. After it made keloids, so Brown from Children of Fire, she made like for me, she made a trip for me to go to Cape Town so that I can go see the doctors that side. They made a plan. They put I think it's a pig skin. It's called something pandemic. So they put it there. So the keloids became better. Before they were worse. Now they look better now.
As a result of the scars, he had to endure being teased at school by his peers who did not understand his condition.
It was easier for me, but the problem was in high school. You know how high school is, how we tease each other and all that stuff. That's when, but because of I came here, Children of Fire, then they taught us how to behave. They taught us self-defense, like not self-defense in but self-defense, not saying the right things. Like if they put you under pressure, you know how to say, oh no, I'm fine the way I look like. Because of how people think they are normal and you are abnormal because you are bent. But we are all the same. We all struggle. We all do so. They will think like, no, because of this one is bent, I'm better than this person. But now, I can say, because of this and this, I'm better than you see. So that's how it is.
In 2001, the young burn survivor was part of the crew that climbed Mount Cameroon near the Gulf of Guinea.
The thing that made me do this, it was to prove that whether you are bent or not, you still can do normal things, like the way people think. Climbing Mountain Cameroon was a big achievement for me because even today I can look back and say, yeah, this is me. I did it. I climbed Mountain Cameroon. A lot of people couldn't do it. Some fell along the way. So, yeah, I'm proud of it. It's a big achievement. I'm happy that I made it to the top of the mountain, made it to the peak.
Franklin dreams of becoming a businessman one day so that he can help uplift the youth in his community.
I would like to see myself owning a business and helping more people, like the way, how if you get help, it's more likely like it's in you. You want to help other people also. You want to help other people who are struggling. You want to help other people who have the same issues that you have. So yeah, the big thing is for me to be an entrepreneur and get funding and move forward.
His wish is to see other burn survivors living their dreams and not allowing their skin condition to stop them from prospering.
To other children who are burn survivors, I would say to them, life will take you up and down, but know what you want to do in life. Accept. First thing first is to accept that, yes, I am bent, but it's not the end of the world.
I hope Franklin's story inspired you. When we come back from the ad break, we will be joined by a team of medical experts who will educate us about burns and trauma. After the break, we visit the Center for Tissue Engineering to learn about skin banking. We chat with founder of Children of Fire, Bronwyn Jones, to learn more about what they do to promote burns and trauma awareness. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching Shape Your Life. According to the World Health Organization, burns are a global public health problem, accounting for an estimated 265,000 deaths annually. The majority of these occur in low and middle income countries, and almost half occur in the World Health Organization Southeast Asia region. We are joined by burn surgeon Dr. Rachel Moore, who will educate us about what we need to do when helping someone who is involved in a fire incident. Dr. Moore, thank you so much for joining us in studio.
It's an absolute pleasure.
What are the different degrees of burns?
So burns degrees is kind of an old-fashioned way of talking about it. So the degree refers to how much of the skin, how deep has the burn gone. So in layman's terms, it'll be first degree, second degree, third degree, even fourth degree. Whereas medical speak, we refer to it more descriptively as in relation to the dermis, the layers of the skin, as to how far it's penetrated. So if we talk about a superficial burn, for example, it's only damaged the epidermis, which is your top layer of skin. And once we start talking about partial thickness or deep partial, mid-partial, full thickness, we're referring to the dermis. So a first-degree burn would now be medically wise a superficial burn, and then a second-degree, third-degree burn would then be a mid and deep partial thickness, and a fourth-degree burn would then be into the underlying muscle or fat.
In your experience, what are the common causes of burns in South Africa?
So we have to divide it into pediatric and adult because the ways they burn are quite different. Internationally, kids are the same. They are mobile between the ages of 2 and 4. They're pulling things down onto themselves, and generally it's hot liquids. So it's pulling down hot soup, hot porridge, hot water, whatever. And then in the South African context, things like bath water is also a really big danger area for the kids. So we do see flame burns in kids, but it tends to be more in winter as part of a household type fire. Whereas in adults, flame burns tend to be much higher on the list, and that's where we start to differ from the rest of the world in that we have a higher assault rate, we also have a higher flame burn rate because of things like alcohol, epilepsy, uncontrolled or non-compliant. People then have a fit or pass out onto something that is flammable, like a heater, a gas stove, whatever, and then the fire starts. So kids tends to be hot liquids, and adults, if we're talking big generalizations, flame.
We're coming up into the winter period, and we know that it's going to be, it's scary for you. I even saw that sigh of yours because you're anticipating a lot of, burns that will happen, and historically it has been shown to happen.
Absolutely.
What would be your safety tips for the home when it comes to heat, fires, etc.?
So in winter, even with kids, we're more at risk of flame burns. So essentially it's about protecting your heat sources. So the 2-bar heaters that don't have the guards over them, they are high risk. So I would advise that those heaters get turned off at night, because if you fall asleep and your duvet or your night clothes then catch onto that, you're going to have a fire. Households who don't have electrification, candles, if you're studying by candlelight, those must be extinguished. We also recommend that the candle gets placed upright in a container, an old cold drink container with sand, so if it falls over it will extinguish itself. Obviously all electrical points should be safe. Illegal connections make things much worse as far as fire hazard, but also kids then coming into contact with the illegal connections, the risk of electric shocks. Adults are obviously also at risk for that. And then if you are epileptic, take your medication, make sure that you're well controlled, go to your local clinic if you have repeat seizures, because again, you're at risk of falling onto a heat source, something catches fire, the household goes up. And then alcohol. Unfortunately, people tend to drink alcohol to keep warm. And again, if you then become unconscious from the alcohol, you'll fall onto something and your response time is a lot worse.
Now, as an adult or a parent, if a child gets burnt, or even yourself or your spouse, experiences a very bad burn in the home environment, what would be the treatment protocol you would advise them until they get into a hospital environment? Because there's a lot of myths. Put butter onto an old burn, and I mean that's not correct.
No, absolutely not. So the best advice is don't put anything on it apart from cool running water, or if you have access to Burn Shield, which is a foam that's been impregnated essentially with tea tree oil, which is very soothing, cools the burn. The most important thing, firstly, if it's a big burn, phone an ambulance straight away. We know, unfortunately, with restrictions and resources, you're not going to get an ambulance as soon as you call. So get someone to call an ambulance while you're applying first aid. If it's fire, stop, drop and roll, you need to extinguish those flames. So stop, drop and roll is pretty self-explanatory. Then get off the clothing. If it's hot water, again, remove the clothing. Now, Highveld winter, for example, is cold. So you don't want to be stripping down a child in an unheated home because they're going to become hypothermic. So once you're stripped off, cover with a blanket. A burn should be under cool running water, not cold and not ice. Cool running water for 20 minutes, and then cover either with cling wrap. Cling wrap is God's gift to burns if you have it in the home, because it covers the burn completely, keeps it clean, and also the pain stops immediately because nothing can touch the burn. Then if it's a big burn, You can't hold, for example, a 1-year-old under a tap when 50% of the body's been burnt, because they will become hypothermic. So then you're wanting to cool it, but not for the full 20 minutes. Ice is a complete no-no because it shuts down the blood supply to the burn and it will deepen.
Okay.
No butter, sugar, egg yolk, egg white, toothpaste, mealie meal, shoe polish, nothing. Gentian violet, mercurochrome, none of that.
Okay.
Cool running water, and then either cling wrap or a dry, clean material of some description.
And get to your nearest hospital as
And
soon
get
as
to
possible.
either your local clinic or
Okay.
to your nearest hospital. Alert emergency services early.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time, for your pearls of wisdom, because I believe that will not only save lives, it will also prevent potentially a lot of serious burns, if we are preventative. But if we do experience, some sort of burn, either as an adult or a child, at least they know now what they should be doing than not do, because you could make it a lot worse.
Super. I really, really thank you for the opportunity, because if we can spread this message, then the burden of burns will come down in this country.
Thank you so much for joining us and Shape Your Life.
Huge pleasure.
Burn injuries can be devastating. You may experience physical, emotional, social and financial challenges associated with your injury or the injury of a loved one. We had an interesting chat with Bronwyn Jones from Children of Fire about what they do to promote awareness to support young burn survivors. I've come to chat to Bronwyn Jones, founder of Children of Fire, to find out exactly what the organization does and what she's up to on a day-to-day basis. Bronwyn, thank you so much for your time and joining us on Shape Your Life.
And thank you for telling people about burns.
In a nutshell, what is Children of Fire?
Children of Fire is an organization where badly burned children are brought here, not usually when they're freshly burned, but sometime afterwards. And we look at them from head to toe, and we work out what we can repair, body and soul, and then we set about repairing it. It can be 10 or 20 or more than 30 operations.
So it's a very intense journey and process with a child for a long period of time.
Indeed, we can have them. The youngest we had was burned when he was 6 days old, and we continue through till they're young adults, helping them get jobs and have a good future.
In your experience in dealing with the children for close to over 20 years, what is the common cause of these children experiencing these serious burns?
The main problem is we're working with people who don't have money, but the most common cause of burns anywhere in the world is hot liquids. It's the age 1 to 4, the little toddlers reaching up, pulling down a hot kettle, a hot pot, because they don't understand danger. The flame burns are people who live with open flame, candles, paraffin stoves that explode and so on. And 1 in 3 of the children that we help have been burned intentionally, often by a family member.
What other support and awareness campaigns is the organization busy with?
We go out to schools, we put on safety plays, and also in squatter camps. We're in our closest squatter camp every single week, every Sunday morning. And we tackle different topics. So we might tackle the drunken dad falling asleep and knocking the stove over, or we might tackle the candle too close to the curtain, but we'll do one theme at a time, and often with the burned children themselves acting it for other children to watch. So the children can say, sometimes they say, why do you look so funny? And because the kids are together, they can be brave and say, well, they might answer, sorry to say this, your face is boring because there's no story there, but my face has got a manuscript of life. And so they put safety and acceptance of disfigurement out in the same story.
So are there any preconceived notions that either male or females are the ones only being burned or affected by burns, or rich or poor?
I think people think that poor people are more at risk, but certainly with hot liquids it's across the board. Males do seem to get more burned than females. So you have the age 1 to 4 where they don't understand danger, but you also have the teenage period where they try things like they take a deodorant, they spray it and set it alight. They set their farts alight. They experiment, they make homemade fireworks, they pour stuff on the bride to make it go faster, more quickly. Everyone taking shortcuts it puts them at risk of burns. And yes, any income group is at risk. I would say if you love someone on Valentine's Day, don't give them a fluffy toy, give them a fire extinguisher. Give them a fire blanket for the kitchen. Give people a torch for the power cuts that we get every winter instead of using a candle. There are so many safe things you can give people that really show you care.
Now, Children of Fire is based here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. The children go to school, they're fed 3 meals a day with snacks, and it must cost an arm and a leg. And knowing that, organization funding has dried up from corporates, government, and other, funding organizations, what can we do as South Africans to assist you to support these children?
The biggest thing we actually need is money, because one of my kids, Palusha, she's been to Britain twice. She had a thumb transplant last year, so that she can be able to grip things and do up her own buttons and so on. The surgery was impossible in South Africa, but the costs of taking kids across the world, the airfares and the accommodation, it's enormous. Day to day we do get a bit of local help with the food, but then we have to import things called tissue expanders, where we're stretching kids' scalps to restore the hairline. Or I've got one girl burned on the chest and we need 3 expanders, and that'll be close to 30,000 Rand for one child, just to stretch the skin and make her look and feel halfway normal. So we need money, please.
So as South Africans, we need to go out there, reach into our pockets and assist where we can. We're not asking one person to give a couple 100,000. If they can, that's great, one organization. But if everybody gives something, and if corporates come on board, because this is an amazing facility that you have here, because it's about giving back and coming on site, chatting to the children, and literally doing your team buildings here. Because what better team building is there in a corporate than to assist and to support and to help children that need it. Thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life, for sharing some of your insight into your experience in dealing with children that have been burnt. I wish you the best of luck with the organization, and travel safe when you're meeting the Queen Mother.
Thank you.
As a burn survivor, it's hard to accept that your skin may never be the same again, and you'll have to live with the scars that will remind you of the incident for the rest of your life. The Center for Tissue Engineering has opened up a skin bank to help heal burns in a less traumatic and painful way. I've come to chat to Cleo Ndlovu, who's the Center Manager at the Center for Tissue Engineering at the CSIR, to find out what they're doing from a skin banking perspective and the benefit it has for the South African population. Cleo, thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
Now we're in a very chilly room when the air cons are the coldest, I believe, and we're in the laboratory. What is the process and the procedure that you undergo right here in the lab to ensure that the skin in particular gets harvested and stored correctly?
Yeah, look, after the skin has been procured from the donor, it's brought back to the lab, and with that comes blood samples. If you look behind you, there's tubes of blood samples. The blood samples come here with the tissue, all of it, and we run tests. Hepatitis, HIV, hepatitis B and C, syphilis, things like that. We also run microbiology screening just to make sure that the tissue is safe for use. And once all of that has been clear, with skin specifically, then it's exposed to a series of processing protocols where it is sterilized and cleaned and trimmed, and maybe we make sure that when the doctor requires it, it's ready for use. The whole process takes about a week to complete, and the skin can be banked for the maximum of 2 years with our procedure. However, we've never had skin sitting in our labs for not even 2 months because the need is that high.
Do you find that the need is so high because there's a lot of burn victims that need the skin? And what is the purpose for them to actually procure and utilize this harvested skin?
Look, remember when you get a burn, the skin is basically a cover. It's protecting your body from fluid loss, protein loss, electrolytes, from shock, from being attacked by bacteria and viruses, from infections. So now you get a burn and that protection is removed, and now your skin goes into shock. It has no way of protecting itself. So what cadaver skin does, or what the donated skin will do, is provide your body with that temporary cover that you've just lost from your natural skin, and your body will come down. It will now get a chance to regenerate new cells to heal that burn. And you also now, the one incredible thing that donated skin does, it reduces pain severely, and the scarring at the end is so much less.
Now, I have this visual in my mind that a person has passed away, they've agreed to be an organ donor, so they're donating their skin and or other organs. Where do you harvest the skin from? Because I don't imagine someone being skinned totally from head to toe. Is there any particular areas that are more preferential than others?
As a matter of principle, for the CTE, we wouldn't procure from the face and from the neck area, simply because we want your family to be able to go ahead with an open casket viewing if that's their wish. And also, we prefer, in fact, it's advised, it's preferable to procure from larger surface areas. You know, your tummy, your back, the back of your thighs, the front of your thighs. It's just the thin top layer of the epidermis that is removed. There's hardly ever any bleeding, sometimes none at all. And that, you know, where the skin was procured, we will wrap so that, you know, it's still presentable. When the family wants to come and dress you in your nice suit or whatever, they can still do that.
Would it be possible for us to go through some of the processes and the procedures that you go through in the skin bank itself and the lab?
Yeah. If you don't mind, we'll take you through the whole procedure, not just for the skin, but for all our tissues, just to give you an idea of what happens when the tissue arrives here until when it actually leaves to the hospital.
Amazing. Let's go do this.
Okay. This is what it looks like when it's been through the process. And so it's packed like that, separated into zones. And because we are so big on confidentiality of our donors, you'll see that there is no name here. Where it says donor, there's just a code. And here we have our shaking incubator. That's the skin during the process. As you can see, the revolutions are timed, and the revolutions are steady at 40 RPMs, and the temperature is also monitored because it needs to stay at a certain temperature. This is all part of the process. And after that, then the skin will go to packaging, where it will be packaged and sent out to the doctor.
Cleo has shown us the entire lab process, and it's so strictly controlled in here that, you know, it's cold, but you can see how much integrity they're taking looking after the skin and the other organs that were donated. Cleo, thank you so much for your time. And I encourage everybody out there that if you do want to support the country, bring that spirit of Ubuntu-ness together, become a skin and organ and tissue donor. With the winter months upon us, it's important to take care of fire safety in our homes. Protect yourself and your children. And don't forget, if you have any questions with health and fitness topics you would like to see covered on the show, email us on shapeyourlife@ann7.com. From me, Ronald Avergy, and the Shape Your Life team, see you next week.